My girlfriend dumped me over the phone to find herself. I said one word and never looked back. There are words that change everything. I love you. I'm sorry. It's over. But sometimes, the most powerful word isn't dramatic at all. Sometimes it's a word so simple, so ordinary, that no one expects it to land like a grenade. For me, that word was fine. My name is Jordan. I'm 28, and I'm a high school history teacher in Portland, Oregon. I'm not the kind of guy who makes waves. I show up, do my job, grade papers, and go home to my small apartment with my cat, Fitzgerald. I'm steady, reliable, the kind of person you call when you need something done, not the kind you call for adventure. That's probably why Sophia fell for me. Or maybe that's why she eventually fell out of love with me. I'm still not sure. Sophia was everything I wasn't. 26, a freelance photographer with wild curly hair and an even wilder laugh. She wore vintage dresses and combat boots, drove a Jeep with a bumper sticker that said, "Not all who wander are lost," and had a friend group that seemed to exist in a permanent state of brunch and spontaneous road trips. We met at a coffee shop 3 years ago. She was taking photos of the barista's latte art, a project for a local magazine feature, and I was the only person at the counter when her camera battery died. "Do you have a charger?" she asked, panicked. "I have 20 minutes before the light changes, and I lose the shot." I didn't have a charger, but I had an hour to kill before my next class, so I went to the electronics store down the street, bought a universal battery pack, and brought it back. She got her shot. She got my number. And for 3 years, I was the luckiest man alive. Sophia was electric. She pulled me out of my comfortable routines, dragged me to art galleries and underground concerts and camping trips I never would have planned for myself. She saw something in me, some hidden depth, some untapped potential, and she made me believe it was there. "I love that you're steady," she'd tell me, curled up on my couch, Fitzgerald purring between us. "Everyone in my life is chaos. You're the calm." I loved being her calm. I loved being the person she came home to after her adventures, the one who made her tea and listened to her stories and held her when the world got too loud. But somewhere along the way, calm stopped being enough. The shift happened gradually. Her adventures got longer. Her stories stopped including me. She'd mention friends I'd never met, trips I hadn't known about, experiences she'd had while I was grading essays and attending parent-teacher conferences. "You should come next time," she'd say, but there was never a next time. Or if there was, the invitation came too late, after flights were booked, after plans were made, after the shape of the trip had already been decided without me. I told myself it was fine. I was busy. She was busy. Relationships ebbed and flowed. This was just an ebb. But the ebb kept going. 6 months ago, Sophia started disappearing. Not physically. She was still at my apartment most nights, but emotionally. She'd stare at her phone for hours, smiling at messages she wouldn't show me. She'd take calls on the balcony, her voice low and intimate. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say just a friend and change the subject. I didn't push. That wasn't my style. I was the steady one, the calm one, the one who didn't make waves. 3 months ago, she started sleeping on the couch. "I just need space," she said when I asked. "I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately." "It's not you. I just need to breathe." I brought her blankets, made her tea, gave her space. 2 months ago, she stopped coming over at all. "I need to figure some things out," she said over the phone, her voice distant. "I've been feeling really lost lately. I don't know who I am outside of us." I wanted to fight. I wanted to show up at her apartment, demand answers, make her see what she was throwing away. But that wasn't me. I was the steady one, the calm one, the one who didn't make waves. "Okay," I said. "Take the time you need." She promised she'd call. She didn't. For 3 weeks, I heard nothing. I went to work. I came home. I fed Fitzgerald. I graded papers. I stared at my phone, waiting for a text that never came. My friends noticed. Marcus, my best friend since college, cornered me after a basketball game. "You okay? You seem off. Sophia and I are taking some space." Marcus snorted. "Space? That's what she called it. She said she needs to figure herself out. And you're just waiting?" "I'm giving her what she asked for." Marcus looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "Jordan, she's been pulling away for months. She's sleeping on other couches, taking mystery calls, and now she's ghosted you for 3 weeks. This isn't taking space. This is her checking out. She said she'd call. And you believed her?" I didn't have an answer for that. The call came a week later. I was at home, grading essays about the causes of World War I, when my phone buzzed. Sophia's name lit up the screen. My heart did something complicated, lurching between hope and dread. I answered, "Hey, Jordan." "Hey." A long pause. I could hear her breathing, could picture her running her fingers through her hair the way she did when she was nervous. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said finally. "About us. About what I need." I waited. "I love you. I really do. But I've realized that I can't be in a relationship right now. I need to be on my own. I need to figure out who I am without being someone's girlfriend. Do you understand?" I understood perfectly. She was breaking up with me. After 3 years, after I'd been her calm, her steady, her rock, she was ending it over the phone. "You still there?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I know this is hard. I need to do this for me. I hope you can understand." I thought about what Marcus said, about the mystery calls, the couch sleeping, the 3 weeks of silence, about all the times I'd made excuses for her, told myself it was just an ebb, believed that being steady meant being patient. I thought about all the things I wanted to say. How could you? After everything? You owe me more than a phone call. You owe me an explanation. You owe me the truth. But I was tired. So tired of being the calm one, the patient one, the one who didn't make waves. Tired of waiting for someone who'd already left. "Fine," I said. The word hung in the air. Simple. Final. Fine. She sounded confused. "That's it. What else is there to say?" "I don't know. I thought aren't you upset?" "I'm sure I will be. But you said you need to be on your own. What am I supposed to do? Talk you out of it? Beg you to stay?" "I didn't say you should beg. But you expected something. A fight. A scene. Something that would make you feel like you mattered enough for me to break." She was quiet. I could hear her breathing change. "I'm not trying to hurt you, Jordan. I know. That's why I said fine. If this is what you need, then go. Be on your own. Figure out who you are. I'm not going to stand in your way." "Okay. Okay then." She sounded uncertain now, like she'd rehearsed a different version of this conversation, one where I cried and pleaded and made her feel wanted. "I should go," I said. "I have papers to grade. You're really not going to fight for us?" "I fought for us for 3 years, Sophia. Every time you pulled away, I held on. Every time you disappeared, I waited. Every time you chose someone else's company over mine, I told myself it was fine. I've been fighting. You just haven't been watching." She didn't respond. "Take care of yourself, Sophia." I hung up. I sat in my apartment for a long time, staring at my phone. Fitzgerald jumped into my lap, sensing something was wrong, and I stroked his fur without really feeling it. I expected to cry. I expected to feel the kind of devastating grief that people write songs about. But all I felt was empty. Not sad. Not angry. Just hollow. Like someone had scooped out everything I'd been holding and left nothing behind. Maybe that was grief. Or maybe it was relief. I didn't know. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The next morning, I woke up, fed Fitzgerald, went to work, and taught my students about trench warfare and the Treaty of Versailles. I came home, graded papers, ate a frozen pizza, and went to bed. The day after that, I did it again. And again. And again. I didn't call Sophia. I didn't text her. I didn't check her social media to see if she was posting photos of her new solo life. I just existed, moving through the motions of a life that felt suddenly, inexplicably lighter. Marcus called a week later. "You okay, man?" "Yeah, I think I am." "You heard from her?" "She broke up with me. Over the phone." "Damn. You okay with that?" I said fine. That's all I said. Fine. That's it. You didn't tell her off? Didn't try to get her back? I didn't see the point. She'd already checked out. Why would I fight for someone who didn't want to be fought for? Marcus was quiet for a moment. "That's surprisingly healthy. Is it? It feels like giving up. Maybe. Or maybe it's finally putting yourself first for once." I thought about that. About all the times I'd put Sophia first, made excuses for her absences, told myself her needs were more important than mine. About the version of myself I'd become. The steady one. The calm one. The one who never asked for anything. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe fine wasn't giving up. Maybe it was finally, after 3 years, choosing myself. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I didn't spiral into the kind of post-breakup devastation that people expected. I just moved forward. Slowly, quietly, one day at a time. Life went on. 3 months passed. I'd like to say I handled the breakup with perfect grace, that I never once thought about Sophia, that I moved on immediately, and never looked back. But that would be a lie. I thought about her constantly, not in the desperate, aching way I'd expected. More like a phantom limb, a presence I could still feel even though it wasn't there. I'd see something she'd like and reach for my phone to text her. I'd hear a song we used to listen to and feel a pang of something I couldn't name. I'd walk past the coffee shop where we met and remember the way she looked when she got her shot, the relief and gratitude, and something else, something that might have been the beginning of us. But I didn't reach out. I didn't text. I didn't call. I didn't stalk her Instagram to see if she was posting photos of her solo journey. I let her be. The silence was strange at first. For 3 years, my phone had buzzed with her messages. My calendar had filled with her plans. My apartment had been cluttered with her things. Now there was nothing. Just me, Fitzgerald, and the quiet hum of my own life. I started filling the space. I joined a gym. Not because I wanted to get ripped, but because I needed somewhere to put the energy that used to go into worrying about Sophia. 3 times a week, I lifted weights and ran on the treadmill and pushed myself until my muscles burned and my mind went quiet. I started cooking. Real cooking, not the frozen pizzas and takeout that had sustained me through the relationship. I learned to make pasta from scratch, to roast vegetables, to bake bread that filled my apartment with warmth and smelled like something I'd built myself. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. Marcus and I started a weekly board game night. My coworker Hannah and I began grading papers together at a brewery downtown, turning a chore into something that felt almost social. I even started therapy. It was Marcus's idea. He'd been going for years and swore by it, and I figured I had nothing to lose. You've spent a long time being someone else's anchor, my therapist, Dr. Patel, said during our 3rd session. Have you ever thought about what you need? What you want? Not what you can provide for someone else, but what you actually desire for yourself. I didn't have an answer. I'd spent so long being steady, being calm, being the one who didn't make waves, that I'd forgotten I was allowed to have needs of my own. Maybe that's what this time is for, she said. Figuring out who you are when you're not holding someone else up. I thought about Sophia's words, the ones she'd used to end things. I need to figure out who I am outside of us. Maybe she was right to need that. Maybe I needed it too. The weeks turned into months. I got stronger, healthier, more present in my own life. I stopped checking my phone for messages that weren't coming. I stopped waiting for something that had already ended. I was moving on. Or so I thought. The first sign that something was shifting came through Marcus. Hey, so weird thing, he said during our board game night, not quite looking at me. I ran into Chloe yesterday. You remember Chloe? Sophia's friend. I felt something tighten in my chest. Yeah, I remember. She asked about you. Said Sophia's been, I don't know, weird lately. Asking about you. Looking at old photos. That kind of thing. What kind of thing? I don't know. Regret? Loneliness? She didn't say. Chloe just said Sophia's been different since the breakup. Not the whole finding herself vibe she was going for. More like lost. I didn't respond. I moved my piece on the board, made a move I immediately regretted, and tried to focus on the game. Just thought you should know, Marcus added. In case she reaches out. She won't. You sure about that? I wasn't sure about anything. 2 weeks later, she reached out. The text came on a Sunday afternoon. I was in the middle of making lasagna, my new specialty, when my phone buzzed. Hey Jordan. Long time. How are you? I stared at the screen for a full minute. My heart was pounding in a way it hadn't in months. My hands were covered in ricotta and marinara. I set the phone down. Finished making the lasagna. Put it in the oven. Sat at my kitchen table and looked at the message again. How are you? Like we were old friends catching up. Like she hadn't broken my heart over the phone 3 months ago. Like the silence between us had been mutual, not something she'd imposed, and I'd accepted. I didn't respond. The next day, another text. Jordan? You there? I read it. Set my phone down. Went to work. The next week, 3 more messages. I know you're probably mad. I don't blame you. Can we please talk? Just once. I miss you. I miss you. The words sat in my chest like something alive. I'd wanted to hear them for so long. Back in those desperate weeks when I was waiting for her to call, hoping she'd come back, believing that if I just held on long enough, she'd remember what we had. But now they just felt hollow. I showed the messages to Dr. Patel at our next session. What do you make of this? She asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to answer. Part of me wants to know what she has to say. And the other part wants to know why now? Why after 3 months of silence, After she told me she needed to be alone, after she ended things without a fight. Why is she suddenly reaching out? What do you think changed? I thought about Marcus's conversation with Chloe. About Sophia being different, lost, looking at old photos. Maybe she didn't find what she was looking for. Maybe being alone isn't as great as she thought it would be. Maybe she's lonely and I'm the safe option, the steady one, the calm one, the one who'll take her back without making her work for it. Is that what you want? To be the safe option? No. But I also don't want to be the guy who holds a grudge, who punishes someone for making a mistake. Wanting space and time isn't punishment, Jordan. It's self-respect. She made a choice. She needs to live with that choice. If you're not ready to talk to her, you don't have to. Not because you're punishing her. Because you're protecting yourself. I sat with that for a while. Protecting myself. It wasn't something I was used to. I was the protector, the anchor, the steady one. I didn't need protecting. Or maybe I'd just never let myself admit that I did. I didn't respond to Sophia's texts. More came. Every few days, another message. Some apologetic, some casual, some desperate. I made a mistake. I see that now. Can we at least be friends? I hate that we don't talk. I dreamed about you last night. Woke up crying. Please, Jordan. Just one conversation. That's all I'm asking for. I read each one. Let them sit in my chest. Didn't answer. My friends had opinions. Marcus thought I was doing the right thing. Hannah thought I should at least hear her out. Closure is important, she said during our grading session. Even if you don't get back together, you might need to talk to her to fully move on. Or it might just reopen wounds that are finally healing. Maybe. But you're the one who said fine. She might need to hear more than that. Not for her, for you. So you know you said everything you needed to say. I thought about that. About all the things I hadn't said during that phone call. About the anger I'd swallowed, the hurt I'd buried, the questions I'd never asked. Maybe Hannah was right. Maybe I needed to say more than fine. But not yet. Not until I was sure I wasn't saying it because she wanted to hear it. The messages continued for a month. Then, suddenly, they stopped. The silence was different this time. Not the empty silence of waiting, but the quiet of something that had finally settled. I told myself it was over. That she'd given up. That she'd found someone else to fill the space I used to occupy. I told myself I was relieved. I wasn't. 6 months after the breakup, I came home from work to find Sophia sitting on my apartment steps. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, cut into a sharp bob that framed her face differently. She'd lost weight, not in the healthy way, but in the way that suggested stress and sleepless nights. Her eyes, when she looked up at me, were red-rimmed and uncertain. Jordan. I stopped at the bottom of the steps, my keys in my hand, my work bag slung over my shoulder. Fitzgerald meowed from inside the apartment, probably wondering why I wasn't coming in. Sophia. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. I know I shouldn't be here. I know you've been ignoring my texts. I needed to see you. In person. To explain. I didn't move. Explain what? Everything. The breakup. The silence. Why I did what I did. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Not that there's a good explanation. There's not. I was selfish and scared and I hurt you, and I've been living with that every day for 6 months. You seem to be doing okay for the first 3. She flinched. The first 3 months, I was running. I told myself I'd made the right decision. I traveled, saw friends, did all the things I thought I needed to do to find myself. But everywhere I went, I was alone. And I realized that being alone wasn't the problem. The problem was that I'd been alone for a long time, even when I was with you. Because I never let you in. Not really. I crossed my arms, waited. I was scared, Jordan, of how much I needed you, of how steady you were when everything else in my life was chaos. I'd spent my whole life running from stability because I thought it would trap me. And when I found it with you, I panicked. I pulled away. I told myself I needed to be free. But the truth is, I was already free. You never tried to trap me. You just loved me. And I didn't know how to handle that. She was crying now, tears running down her cheeks, and part of me, the part that had loved her for 3 years, wanted to go to her. To wrap my arms around her and tell her it was okay, that I understood, that we could figure it out. But another part of me, the part that had spent 6 months rebuilding, held back. So you broke up with me over the phone, I said. You told me you needed to be alone. And I said fine. I gave you exactly what you asked for. I know. And I thought that was what I wanted. I thought you saying fine meant you didn't care. That you were relieved to be rid of me. And I told myself that was good. that it meant we were never meant to be, that I'd made the right choice. She wiped her face with her sleeve, a gesture so familiar it made my chest ache. But then I started hearing things. From Marcus, from Chloe, from people who'd seen you around town. You weren't a mess. You weren't devastated. You were okay. You were going to the gym, cooking, seeing friends. You were moving on. Is that what you wanted? For me to be a mess? No. Yes. I don't know. She laughed again, more hysterical this time. I wanted you to fight for me. I wanted you to show up at my apartment and demand that we talk it out. I wanted proof that I mattered enough for you to break your precious steadiness. And when you just said fine and disappeared, I told myself it proved you never really loved me. I stared at her, at the woman I'd given everything to, who'd taken my steadiness and called it indifference. You wanted me to fight for you, I said slowly. After you'd spent months pulling away. After you'd taken calls on the balcony and slept on the couch and disappeared for weeks at a time. You wanted me to chase you. I know it doesn't make sense. No, it makes perfect sense. You wanted me to prove that I loved you by breaking myself, by abandoning the one thing you said you loved about me, that I was steady, that I was calm, that I didn't make waves. You wanted me to become someone else so you could feel wanted. She was quiet, tears still falling. I loved you, I continued. I loved you so much I let you treat me like an afterthought. I let you disappear and come back and disappear again. And every time, I told myself it was fine because I was the steady one, the patient one, the one who didn't need anything. And you know what? That wasn't love. That was me erasing myself so you could feel free. Jordan, you said you needed to be alone. You said you needed to figure out who you were outside of us. And I gave you that. I gave you exactly what you asked for. Because after 3 years of giving you everything, I finally decided to give myself something too. What did you give yourself? Permission to stop waiting. She broke then. Real, ugly crying, the kind that comes from somewhere deep. She sat down on the steps, her shoulders shaking, and I stood there watching her, feeling something I hadn't expected. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just sadness. For her, for us, for the 3 years we'd spent building something she'd been too scared to keep. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I threw away something good. I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm trying to be different. For myself. Not for anyone else. I sat down on the steps beside her. Not touching, but close. Are you in therapy? I asked. She nodded, wiping her face. For 2 months now. I'm working on my attachment issues. My fear of intimacy. My tendency to push people away before they can leave me. That's good. That's really good. I know it doesn't change what I did. I know I hurt you. It does change it. Not enough to undo anything, but enough to matter. She looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. Does that mean? It means I'm glad you're getting help. It means I'm not angry anymore. But it doesn't mean I'm ready to forget what happened. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm not even asking you to take me back. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. That I know I was wrong. That I don't expect anything from you. She stood up, steadier now, and looked down at me. You deserved better than me, Jordan. You deserved someone who could appreciate your steadiness instead of being scared of it. I hope you find that someday. She turned to leave. Sophia. She stopped. I'm glad you came. And I'm proud of you for doing the work. That's not easy. She smiled. A real smile, sad but genuine, and walked away. I sat on my steps for a long time after she left, watching the street get dark, thinking about everything she'd said. Fitzgerald eventually scratched at the door, demanding dinner, and I went inside. That night, I lay in bed and thought about the word that had started all of this. Fine. 1 syllable. 3 letters. A word so simple it seemed almost meaningless. But it had meant something. It had meant, I'm done fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. I'm done erasing myself so you can be free. I'm done being the steady one while you run. It had meant, I choose me. And now, 6 months later, I was still choosing me. In the weeks after Sophia's visit, something shifted. Not in a dramatic way. No grand revelations. No sudden transformations. Just a quiet recalibration. Like a ship that's been sailing slightly off course finally finding true north. I started noticing things I hadn't noticed before. The way I'd built my life around Sophia's needs without ever asking what I wanted. The way I'd defined myself as steady and calm, as if those were the only things I was allowed to be. The way I'd turned my own needs into something negotiable, something I could set aside until later, and later never came. Dr. Patel helped me see the pattern. You've spent a lot of time being the anchor, she said. But anchors don't move. They hold things in place. They keep things from drifting. And that's valuable, don't get me wrong. But what do you need? What happens when the anchor wants to move? I don't know. I've never thought about it. That's the work. Figuring out what you want when you're not holding someone else up. I started thinking about what I wanted. Really wanted. Not what would make someone else happy or keep someone else steady. I wanted to travel. I'd spent my whole life in Portland, had never been east of the Mississippi, had never seen the ocean except in pictures. Sophia had traveled constantly, those trips I was never invited on, and I told myself I didn't mind staying home. But I did mind. I wanted to see things, too. I wanted to write. I'd always loved history, not just teaching it but thinking about it, writing about it. I'd had a half-finished manuscript about the Pacific Theater in World War II sitting on my laptop for 3 years. I'd stopped working on it when Sophia and I got together, because there was never time, because her needs always came first. I wanted to be more than steady. I wanted to be curious, adventurous, unpredictable. I wanted to make waves of my own. I started small. I booked a trip to New York for spring break. Not a guided tour, not a visit to friends, just me, a plane ticket, and a list of museums I'd always wanted to see. Marcus thought I was crazy. You're going alone? To New York? You've never even been on a plane. I've been on a plane. Once. To LA for a conference. That doesn't count. LA is just Portland with worse traffic. Still counts. He shook his head, but he was smiling. You're different, you know that? Since the breakup. You're not as. I don't know. Not as quiet. I'm not as quiet. You used to just absorb everything. All the drama, all the chaos, all the stuff Sophia threw at you. You just took it and didn't say anything. Now you actually react. You have opinions. You tell me when I'm being an idiot. You're always being an idiot. See? That's new. I thought about that. About all the years I'd swallowed my opinions, my reactions, my needs. About the version of myself I'd created to be the steady one, the calm one, the one who didn't make waves. Maybe I wasn't less steady now. Maybe I was just more present. The trip to New York was everything I didn't know I needed. I walked 20,000 steps a day, visited every museum on my list, ate pizza in Brooklyn and bagels in Manhattan, and a hot dog from a cart that gave me food poisoning on my last day. I got lost in Central Park, got stranded on the wrong subway platform, got yelled at by a cab driver for taking too long to get in. And I loved every second of it. I came back different. Not transformed, that's too dramatic, but shifted, like something had unlocked. I started writing again. An hour every night, no exceptions. The manuscript came back to life, page by page. I joined a local history society, gave a talk about the Pacific Theater that was better attended than I'd expected. People asked questions, wanted to know more, saw me as something more than the quiet guy who taught their kids. I started dating. Casually, carefully, with no expectations. A few coffee dates, a dinner here, a hike there. Nothing serious. Nothing that demanded more than I was ready to give. Just practice. Practice being seen, being known, being someone who had needs and desires and a life that didn't revolve around someone else's chaos. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was mine. Sophia didn't reach out again. I'd see her sometimes, around town, and we'd nod or wave, but we didn't talk. I heard through mutual friends that she was still in therapy, still working on herself, still figuring out who she was when she wasn't running. I was glad for her. Genuinely. But I was also glad for me. A year after the breakup, I'm a different person. Not unrecognizable. I'm still Jordan, still a history teacher, still the guy who shows up and does his job. But there's more to me now. Layers that weren't there before. I finished the manuscript. For 100 pages about the Pacific Theater, the soldiers who fought there, the families who waited for them. It's not published. I'm not that optimistic. But it's done. I wrote it. I built something that wasn't about anyone else. I traveled again. New York was just the beginning. I went to Chicago, to Boston, to Washington, D.C. I saw the ocean for the first time. Cape Cod, cold and gray and endless. I stood on the shore and felt small in a way that was freeing, not frightening. I'm dating someone. Her name is Elena. She's a librarian, quiet and sharp, with a laugh that catches me off guard every time. We take things slow. Both of us have been burned before, but there's something there. Something real. She asked about Sophia once, early on. Your ex. What happened? I told her. Not the bitter version, not the version where I was the victim and Sophia was the villain. Just the truth. Two people who loved each other. One of them too scared to let that love be steady. The other too willing to be erased. That's a hard lesson, Elena said. It was. But I'm glad for it. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't learned it. Here. With you. With myself. All of it. She smiled, squeezed my hand, and we didn't talk about it again. I still think about Sophia sometimes. Not with longing, that's faded. But with something like gratitude. She hurt me, yes. But she also showed me who I was when I wasn't holding someone else up. She showed me that I could survive losing something I thought I couldn't live without. She showed me that fine wasn't giving up, it was finally, after 3 years, choosing myself. The question that started all this, was I the asshole for saying fine, then ignoring her return? I've answered it 100 times. Here's what I've decided. No, I wasn't the asshole. Sophia wanted to break up. She told me she needed to be alone, needed to find herself, needed space from us. And I gave her exactly what she asked for. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally cared about myself enough to stop chasing someone who'd already left. Could I have handled it differently? Sure. I could have fought. Could have showed up at her apartment, demanded answers, made her feel wanted by breaking myself. Some people would call that love. But love isn't proving yourself by disappearing. Love isn't making someone else responsible for your needs. Love isn't testing someone to see if they'll break for you. Love is steady. Love is choosing each other, not testing each other. Love is showing up, not running away. Sophia wasn't ready for that. And I was tired of being the only one who was. When she came back, when she sat on my steps and told me she'd made a mistake, I listened. I heard her. I even forgave her. But I didn't go back. Because going back would have meant returning to a version of myself I'd worked too hard to leave behind. I said fine when she left. I said fine when she came back. And both times, I meant it. Tonight, I'm sitting on my porch with Elena, watching the sun set over Portland. Fitzgerald is curled up between us, purring like an engine. We're talking about nothing. What to make for dinner, whether to see a movie this weekend, the book she's reading that she can't stop talking about. It's quiet. It's steady. It's everything I didn't know I was looking for. Elena nudges me with her elbow. You're doing that thing again. What thing? The thing where you go somewhere else. What are you thinking about? I think about telling her. About Sophia. About the word that changed everything. About the year I spent learning to be someone I didn't know I could be. But it's not the right time. Or maybe it's the wrong story. Just thinking about how I got here. I say. She smiles. Is it a good story? The ending is. She leans her head against my shoulder, and I feel something settle in my chest. Not the hollow emptiness of those first weeks, not the complicated grief of the months after. Just peace. The door Sophia opened wasn't just an exit from our relationship. It was an entrance to something else. Something I built myself, one day at a time, one choice at a time. I said fine. I walked through, and on the other side, I found myself. That's it for today's stories. If you want to see more of the best threads Reddit has to offer, make Reddit Be Mine a part of your daily routine. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a heartbeat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next thread.